Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your presence in tonight's online webinar. My name is Nina Nuradiati. Welcome to the 11th Indonesian Contemporary Art and Design 2021, or ICAD 11th, online talk on current and future practices in design world in collaboration with Institut Français di Indonesia, Cité du Design Saint-Etienne, and Ecole Supérieure d'Art et Design Saint-Etienne. We are glad that ICAD could come back this year in 2021. ICAD 11 is presented by Yayasan Design Plus Art Indonesia. Before we start the talk, ICAD 11 would like to say thank you to our strategic partners, Pemerintah Provinsi DKI Jakarta, Kementerian Pariwisata dan Ekonomi Kreatif Republik Indonesia, Kementerian Pendidikan, Kebudayaan, Riset, dan Teknologi Republik Indonesia, Artura Insanindo, Grand Kemang Hotel Jakarta, Motion Picture Association. ICAD 11 also supported by PRI Prioritas, Angka Fortuna Cinema, Designer Shop, Dynamite Asia Lighting, Viroforms, Taco, Malka, Diton, Samsung, PT Aneka Interindo Lestari, M Projects, Institution Partners, Kamar Dagang Indonesia, Koalisi Seni, Asosiasi Seni Indonesia, Seni untuk Indonesia, Himpunan Desainer Interior Indonesia, Universiti Teknologi Mara, Titik Temu, Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia, Himpunan Desainer Mebel Indonesia, Asosiasi Desain Graphers Indonesia, Aliansi Desainer Produk Industri Indonesia, Desain Etnologi ITB, UNDP Accelerator Lab, The Behavior Design Lab Universitas Pembangunan Jaya, Asosiasi Produser Film Indonesia, Aku Cinta Makanan Indonesia, Yayasan Habibie Ainun, Dewan Kesenian Jakarta, Jakarta Biennale, Jakarta International Contemporary Dance Festival, Kine Forum, Jakarta Experience Sport, Festival Kolaborasi Jakarta, Komite Ekraf Jakarta, Jakarta Fashion Week, Angkasa Pura I, Ganara Art, Alika Communications, International Partners, London Design Biennale, Super Studio Milan, Istituto Italiano di Cultura, Institut Français Indonesia, Cité du Design, Ecole Supérieure d'Art et Design Saint-Etienne, Japan Foundation, Asian Student Package Design Competition, Official TV Partners, Metro TV, Media Partners, Design Anthology, Casa, Style and Decor, Idea, Inclover, Akinesia, Asrinesia, DCI Asia, Construction Plus, Majalah Seni Rupa, Harian Kompas, Gatra, Femina, Narasi TV, Kompas.com, Media Indonesia, Tempo.co, Jakarta Globe, Berita 1, Manual, Geometry.id, Greatmind.id, Sugar and Cream, Tanam Tumbuh, Mojok.co, Girl Weekend, Altspace, Luxina, Written, JNFI, What's New Indonesia, Indonesia Expat, Arsitak, Archify, Indo Art Now, Satulingkar.com, Art Calls Indonesia, Official Ticketing Partners, Event Journal, Radio Partners, Hard Rock FM, Prambors Radio, Sonora Radio. And before I start, I would like to welcome Miss Charlotte Esnu as the Attaché Cultural and Associate Director of Institut Français de Indonesia. Please, Miss Charlotte.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you very much. That's a lot of sponsors. That's a big list. Thank you for this introduction and selamat malam, everyone. Thank you also, Edwin and Amanda, and of course the whole ICAD team for your invitation. So first of all, I wanted to say how delighted I am to welcome Amaury Poudray to speak in Indonesia again. I think this is not the first time that he's coming. I think, Amaury, you came 2 times previously, right? In 2017 and 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah. 2017 for a project and 2018 for effects.
Yeah. Offer. Wonderful. Yeah, and so to let everyone know, so you were actually supposed to be in Indonesia right now for a residency program in collaboration with the Kush Kush Gallery, right, in Bali. But because the borders aren't opened yet, then we're postponing it, but you're coming up soon, hopefully. We hope. So I wanted to share with you, let me tell you the first encounter that I had with Amaury Poudray. And when I first looked at his work, this was last summer. Actually, we were back in France. And I was really, really struck by the way that he was paying attention to the meaning of everything that he was doing. And this was really clear in all of his communication. It was almost like I thought an obsession. And it was like every moves and every gestures and every collaboration, every piece of work that he was producing was deeply rooted in care, value, and substance. And I remember thinking, well, of course, like, how could this be any different? But it is constantly and everywhere. Like, projects are being rushed and objects are being mass produced and barely used and barely consumed and then trashed. And this is how it is going, right? So I remember thinking, well, this is quite different. This is like a new approach, right? And I remember him saying to me this sentence. So he said, to bring care to the work, it is already making sense of our actions. And he also said, this is making sense of our presence on the planet. It's like preserving our common good. And I said this was really relevant. And so that's also the good news, is that what I saw is that the designers, artists, and the craftsmen are the guarantors of this care, right? And same as craft work would be a vector or a leading force for healing. And for this, I think it was important that the message of Amaury, his choices and his vision of the function of a designer be truly heard and discussed and spread. And I think this is what we're doing right now. So I'm pretty happy about this. So this program is part of a larger ambition of the French Embassy to create more and more opportunities for designers and artists from both countries, right, to connect and create and inspire each other. And so there will be more discussions and programs in the coming months, years, hopefully. And so I would like you to stay connected to us, to the French Institute of Indonesia, of course, but to ICAD also, and the wonderful platform that they are offering. So thank you again for this opportunity, and merci beaucoup, et à bientôt.
Thank you, Ms. Charlotte. And now I would like to welcome our fantastic moderator for tonight, Amanda, who will lead the talk tonight. Please welcome Amanda.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda. Bonsoir for maybe French, some of our French speakers for tonight. We're very pleased that tonight we have the honor to invite two very prominent speakers from the design scene, both French design scene and the Indonesian design scene. So we have Mr. Alvin Tjitrowirjo, who is with us tonight, who will be speaking first, and then we will have, at the other half of the session, we will have Mr. Amaury Poudray, who will be also giving a presentation about his practice. So what is it that we want to talk about tonight? So design and future, of course, that's very, that sounds like a very ambitious kind of title, isn't it? And when we talk about future, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about our planet, but we also talk about technology, and all of these contradictions, all of these, I would say, or as Amaury said, paradoxes, you know, that we are being faced with are giving us all of these different feelings, you know, anxieties, but also excitement and so forth. So I think it's really interesting that we bring up this subject in a design context, because if we talk about designers, then we talk about people who design things for us, for our life, and who think about how we live and how we can respond to objects, spaces, and also the times that we live in. So being in this midst of pandemic, you know, a very crazy time, unsettling times for us, of course, it's really important for all of us to think about how the future will be after the pandemic, what will happen post-pandemic, and how will we live after that. Of course, this will affect the way we think about design. This will affect our relationship with objects and spaces and with each other, as human beings. So it's not really my job to share tonight. So I will stop right here as an introduction. Also, just to add, ICAD's theme this year is public. So it's a really interesting topic to think about today with all the changes that we are facing during this pandemic, because ICAD was supposed to happen actually last year. So the theme public itself was already being discussed and developed as a theme for the exhibition before the pandemic. And we were really thinking about an edition of ICAD where people would really interact. We would be touching objects, interacting with all of these artworks and design objects that are in the space of the exhibition. But then the pandemic happened, and like I said before, we need to rethink about how we will interact, right, with all these objects and amongst us. So the theme public itself will evolve over the time. I would like to invite first of all Mr. Alvin, or can I just call you Alvin in this case, to present a little bit about his practice. But more than that, he will also talk about current projects that he is working on right now, or also some of his thoughts and probably researches or brainstormings that he has been doing so far recently in relation to how he thinks the world will be after the pandemic. So just a little bit about Alvin. So Alvin Tjitrowirjo founded Alvin Tea in 2006, a furniture brand that amalgamates Indonesia's rich cultural heritage and artisanal approach with contemporary sensibility. So there's always this mix of heritage and artisan and contemporary in his design. And he's also the founder of Shape of Thoughts, which I find really interesting. It's a creative agency that focuses on design strategies. And interestingly, it was founded very recently in 2020. So of course, we are very excited to hear more about that. So I will stop right here and give the floor to Alvin. Please, Alvin.
Thank you, Amanda. Hi, everyone. Bonjour, Charlotte, Amaury. Hope you guys are doing well. Hello, Edwin. Apa kabar? And hi, everyone here. Very happy to be here. Very happy to take part into this session. Without further ado, let me just quickly share my screen. Oops. Okay. 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 So the past 2 years, during this pandemic, maybe this is the time where I asked most of the questions I've ever tried to ask in my whole entire life. And like Alain de Botton, who's a philosopher, I mean, he quoted that every object is actually an act of politics, basically, because everything we do relates to other people, other people's way of thinking, other people's way of living, their mindset, their perception, and ultimately the value perception that they will develop afterwards. Just as a brief, Amanda already gave us a bit of introduction to what I do. I started my practice as a furniture brand or a furniture designer, and this idea was actually initiated by the frustration I experienced when I came back to Indonesia after studying overseas. The idea actually came from the abundance of resources that we have versus the lack of will to optimize our our resources, and that led not just to the lack of optimal towards exploring and developing our potential, but also I think it also sort of assists our never-ending problem on developing our own character and our own identity as a country. As you probably know, I mean, Indonesia is a very large and diverse nation. And this country, the nation itself, was just founded less than a century ago. So we came from a wide variety of not just cultures, but belief systems, way of living, identities, histories, etc., etc. And this is the source of inspiration, let's say, for modern Indonesian to actually take on when they develop their works. And when I started this brand, it was back in 2006. There was a time where Indonesia's design scene was quite at its juvenile, and there wasn't really a sense of appreciation towards this contemporary attitude. And I mean, studying overseas, and then and that also led me to travel and experience furniture exhibitions in Milan or in Paris, etc., etc. That really opened my eyes on the fact that tradition or culture or history is not really, it's never really disconnected with what we call modern or even contemporary. There's a stigma in Indonesia where history is history, and then modern or contemporary is something that we live in or towards the future, and there's a big disconnection in between it. This is something that I recently discovered that it's not, and the fact that culture continuously evolves, and it's a self-perpetuating entity in a way, and that's what we also should see our own culture, basically. So so these pieces of furniture is basically an exploration towards not just trying to understand where we come from or why we do things the way we do, or even why we're using this type of materials, and why do people make things the way they make. But at the same time, I'm trying to also explore modern functions that are more relevant towards the way people live today. And this resulted in these furniture pieces, basically. So when people say who are your target market, or what sort of pricing strategy you have, or what sort of business model or business plan that you have, I said to them, this is not, it's not exactly a business model. This is an expression towards, you know, a bit of frustration, but then out of frustration, then usually I discovered opportunities, basically. And you know, people say demand can be fulfilled, or it can be created. And so I try to choose the latter, basically, where I believe that if you can really communicate a certain type of value, and you can really communicate in a way, like not just visualize it, but then try to make people understand what you're trying to make, what do you believe in, and why is it worth to believe in, then you get yourself you know, I mean, not just people who actually appreciate your work, but also customers. And so I've been doing this for 16 years. it has been quite of a rocky ride, as you probably know. I mean, Indonesia's infrastructure in the design ecosystem or in the design industry is not yet built properly enough. Things that I envy from friends in Europe or in America or other developed country where education is connected with the industry, and industry is connected with the academics and customers and media, etc., where it creates an industry that is fit for innovation. This condition we don't have yet. And so with the rise of the economy growth, which has given us, a lot of business opportunities, etc. This allowed a lot of players, a lot of industry players coming into the country unfiltered. So there are people who want to deliver or want to provide high quality pieces, original designs, and at the same time, there are companies that are selling the fake ones for 1/20th of the price, basically. And everything is so-called bombarded into the market without any filter. Nobody is really telling which one is the fake, which one is the original, why this design is good and why that design is bad. Why should we invest in original pieces instead of just letting everyone buying fakes? Why is it really important to actually hire designers? These are the problems that are actually sort of eating the industry itself. And so tough situation can actually make tough people, or it can actually destroy them. I try to maintain positive and try to adapt to the situation. And this pushes me as a designer, not just to work behind the desk, but actually to really stretch my hands and play other roles within the industry. I'm just going to just play this video just as a background. This is just a recent project that we did, where we did a seating installation in a hotel in Western Java near the mountain areas, just an hour and a half away from Jakarta. And this is also a continuation towards trying to understand our environment and our surroundings, taking elements that are a bit familiar, but then infuse it with a contemporary spirit. This is a lighting installation that we did that was sort of inspired by the mountainous landscape around it. And these are benches made out of laminated wood that resembles pebbles, like river stones that surrounds the area. And this type of work also pushes me to question, what sort of value do I really want to provide, or what value is actually important, especially during this pandemic. A lot of businesses suffer, and it's good and bad at the same time. It's bad because there are a lot of businesses that suffers, but it's good at the same time because now people really understand that they need to be creative. And I think creativity, I mean, it's an overused word, but seriously underused. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I mean, this has been a plan of mine a few years ago, where, usually when people speak about design, they focus on the end product. whether it's an object, whether it's a product, interior, architecture, etc., etc. But there are many steps before actually visualizing or designing the end product that also requires design, basically. What sort of product do we need to develop? How do we communicate the product that we already have? Or how do we understand our customers better? Or even re-questioning again, what sort of value do we want to deliver to our customers or to the people, or even trying to answer more complex problems. So we set up another agency, another studio in Jakarta that is basically trying to tackle more complex problems. A lot of people can already design, let's say, beautiful restaurants. Pinterest has provided us with endless of inspiration and ideas to implement. But before that, there are still missing links between the stakeholders in the ecosystem, inside the creative or the design industry as well. And there's still a lot of potential in the so-called design economy in Indonesia that hasn't been discovered yet. So those are more complex problems, and unfortunately, the education system in Indonesia is not designed to create individuals that can actually solve those problems. Most of the education system actually was designed to produce people that are fit into the industry. But when the industry now are lacking behind, let's say, development of technology, or even, let's say, a force de majeure like this type of pandemic, this requires a different kind of thinking. And so, I question again, what is the role actually that does designer have to play? Do we really need? I mean, I'm trained as a product designer, so I'm sort of thinking more as a product designer or an interior designer. But are we bound to just design spaces and product, or we can actually design? Let's say, can we actually make a vision for a client, or can we actually incorporate a bit of business development into people or a company that we work with? And I sort of break down into three different roles. One is a catalyst, basically to incubate and then to formulate what we really need and what we really need to do, and then we create a strategy, and then we implement the strategy basically into a design, into a form of design, basically. And so we stretch our arms a little bit, both, let's say, left and right, so we can actually reach other stakeholders, because waiting for them to contact us or waiting for them to reach out to the design individuals, that won't happen, basically. And so with this team, we used our own Alvin Tea brand as a case study on experimenting ways of communication, ways of brand activation, ways of intellectual discourses to try to dig deeper and discover new insights, what can be done in Indonesia, and so and what sort of solution we can actually try and to discover and develop that we can actually replicate to other industries. So just to show you a little bit, we've been working with a company called Vivere, and I'm currently working as the creative director there, and here we try to formulate. We're currently working on a new artistic direction where we want to focus on nature, an artistic direction in order natural materials
really
like rattan. So that is a beautiful material
develop a strong point.
Processed locally.
I'll just show you this video just briefly.
With the rise of automation and technology, we want to celebrate humanity through craftsmanship. In a way, we want to create something that only humans can make, not machines. And through this imperfection, each pieces will be unique. Ultimately, we want to create a new visual identity that celebrates and embraces the beauty of nature and humanity through modern and contemporary design.
So,
Hello.
so this was a project that this is an ongoing project that we've been working together, and this is basically trying to dig deeper, not just designing the object, but really redefining its true identity, the strong points, and then try to implement it into an export strategy, marketing and communication material, etc., etc. This is our booth at Maison d'Objet 2020, just before the pandemic, and here we sort of test ourselves in the market and see whether our values actually resonate with the international market. And the response was actually very good. A lot of people really appreciate the fact that it's sort of a combination between natural materials, but then optimize in its quality and craftsmanship into making a product that is of a high value. And here we also translate the same identity and the same strategy into the retail space. So, so this is their new retail space that just opened a few months ago in southwestern Jakarta, just slightly outside of it. And here we designed the program of the retail space. We want the brand to be more collaborative, more inclusive in a way, and we try to create the interaction based on the spaces. I mean, the spaces as intended. What we also wanted to do is that, of course, what the market wants is always cheaper and faster product, but we always want to educate that what you really need is actually higher quality product that can actually sort of communicate to you that, you know, good quality means, you know, not just better for the environment, but, you know, but educates people the fact that there's a whole value perception towards the object that you actually use. I mean, for instance, if your life is surrounded by disposable objects, things that you buy cheaply, but then always breaks, you know, after the second use, and then after becoming a habit of using those products, there's a big probability of obtaining this value perception that life is disposable, you know. But if you're surrounded from the very, let's say, since your childhood, being surrounded by highly crafted product made with the fullest intention, then the way you see life is also like that. And I think this is what's really important, because a lot of companies are just trying to achieve
what they call growth. But as we all know, I mean, loosely regulated economic growth has its own consequences and hidden costs, basically, and it's the future generation that needs to pay for it, basically. So these type of questions, yeah, something that I contemplate with, and at the same time, I try to answer through the works that I do. Just as a last project, this is another furniture company that we direct recently, and it's also a furniture company that is inspired by everyday objects that are available in Indonesia. So these tools, I don't know if you're familiar, but there are many of them, and in Indonesia or in Asian countries, and usually they're made out of plastic. But those tools have been used in our, let's say, in our culture for many years. So we do want to maintain the silhouette or the shape of it, but then we upgrade it. It's as if that we're trying to upgrade our culture. So the same type of object, and we use these tools to actually eat meatballs at the meatballs stall or noodle stall, usually in Indonesia. And we upgraded it using solid wood and adding additional function. And just as a brief introduction, we also need to communicate this new way of presenting furniture companies. So the way we communicate it is also very important. In a way, we do want to make it a little bit more younger, a bit more casual, a bit more playful at the same time. So communication material on social media or on the website, everything has to be very in line. We have a video here, but somehow it doesn't want to work with us, so we'll just skip these ones. And so these objects, all these pieces, they were all inspired by everyday objects. So these are just an example of how design can actually be used in developing culture, tradition, or even values that we already familiar with, basically. And there's no boundaries in terms of what to do and what not to do. I mean, in Indonesia, there's still a lot of opportunities, and there's still a lot of potential values that needs to be discovered. And designing is basically just a tool to actually discover this hidden potential. Yeah.
Beautiful presentation. Thank you so much, Alvin.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we move on to Amaury's little presentation?
Yep, I think that's about it. These are just the restaurant projects that we incorporate the furniture, but that's about it, basically.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I picked up a lot of really interesting words, like process. You talked a lot about process, and obviously process is the way we do things. It's the way we live, and that's the thing that's continuously changing and evolving right now, right, with the time that we live in. And it's also really interesting how you sort of rethink everyday objects to accommodate also the different needs of today, just contemporary needs, and making those traditional and somewhat familiar objects present in our lives, but in a way, in a way that's sort of different from how it used to be. So I find that very interesting. And most of all, you did mention about how furniture design came out of frustration when you first came back to Indonesia. That sort of, I would say, kind of like ease our minds, a bit, because this is exactly what we are facing, this frustration of not being able to do as much as we did before. But at the same time, the fact that you managed to overcome that frustration with such a positive mindset and turn that into creativity, I think that's something that's really interesting, and it's a really nice example of how we should stay positive and instead be creative. Okay, thank you again, Alvin, for your sharing session. Next, I would like to welcome Amaury Poudray. So Amaury, a little bit about him. As you know, he's a French designer, now based in, where are you based? Which city are you based right now, Amaury?
Nantes, in the west of France.
In the west of France, so in Nantes. So Amaury is a designer of objects, spaces, and stories. That's also interesting, designer of stories. And he's also the manager of the company Networks. So Networks is a design agency that values being, knowing, and doing. So again, we see a little bit of similarity here between our two speakers. Being, knowing, and doing. Doing is a lot to do with process, and that's also something that Alvin talked about earlier. So all your Amaury's projects have also, like Alvin's, been presented around the world, so not just in France, but abroad even. Amaury was part of ICAD, or contributed in discussion with ICAD a few years ago. He works with craftsmen, institutions, leaders who participate in building a more sustainable society too. So there's also this sort of vision to move forward in a way that's well thought, also in his practice. His objects are designed, developed, and communicated to promote a know-how and a knowledge to be. So again, another similarity between these two panelists for today is that the know-how or the process of making is really important, and could even be more important than the outcome itself. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Amaury to present his little sharing about his practice.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Amanda. So before showing the presentation, I want to thank you, Alvin, because I really like your window on Indonesia and how you mix the past and the future together. It's really interesting and inspiring, especially to see another designer in another territory, Indonesia, for a designer from Europe. It's really inspiring. And also, I'm really happy to be here, and I want to thank Charlotte also for this nice introduction before, and thank you very much. And few people touch your soul in a lifetime, and Charlotte is one of them. So thank you very much, and I'm really happy to be also in ICAD for the second time, even if it's virtually. Maybe we start the PDF, and also I don't know if there is question, if it's maybe after, or if there's question while I talk. It's okay to.
Okay, noted. So would you like the slides now?
Yes, please. So yeah, just to, as I can't really share, so Amanda will slide the pages, and so I will say suivant for each slide. So since 2009, I had a degree in design school of Saint-Etienne in France, And as soon as I finished school, I started my business. And since 2009, it became, until now, 2021, it became more and more, and I became more and more engaged in a social part, in environmental part, and spiritual part also now. And I would say that my business, I design less and less for business because initially after school I was more in a traditional practice, business and doing for companies and everything. And now it become more and more something more and more exploring, more and more engaged, and more like a healing process and personal practice. So I would say it's still design, but it's more and more my life. It's more and more personal. But still, my mantra is more. It's mainly enhance craft and craftsman. And also, I want to introduce this project I will do in Bali with Kush Kush, as Charlotte said before. So the goal is to enhance Bali craft, people also from Bali, and to show it in Europe, and also to mix two vision, European vision, Indonesian vision. So this project will build itself as soon as we go. Maybe you can slide. So lightness is really important also, I think, in the way we do things. The more light we are, the more efficient also we are in the message we want to give. And as you say, Alvin, it's a lot about talking about a way of life, talking about a vision. So maybe you can slide. Suivant. This is just important for me to say that exploration is the beginning of everything. And after my degree in France, I went 1 year in Italy, in Fabrica. So Fabrica is a center of communication and research of Benetton Group. So it was I was 1 year with people from all over the world. Very creative and really rich of sharing a vision from every country. And I work also a lot with in Poland with craft from Poland. I did workshop there. I went also 1 year in the United States in a Rhode Island School of Design to study. And so as you know, I went also in Indonesia so years after, so in 2017, I went to work with a company in Yogyakarta. I also teach a bit so did some masterclass in Shenzhen in China and in Seoul in Korea. So all this experience made me more accurate to what I want to say with my designs. Maybe you can slide. I will be brief with my project. As we have been asked to talk about the future, I will show you 3 projects. The first project is something I'm working on right now. It's a lot of my time right now. It's in process, and the 2 other projects also will say something about my recent work and about my vision for a certain type of future. You can slide this project. So it's called Peuplade. In French, it means a small group of people. It's like it refers to old ethnies and the first humans maybe. And these are installations outside to look at the stars. We have been asked, and actually we won a public, competition to install belvedere, so places to look at the stars in 3 national parks. So it's in parks of Cévennes in France, Pyrenees, mountains in France, and also Cévennes. No, I say Cévennes and Quercy. So 3 national parks. You can slide. And I got inspired by ancient civilization like Maya, like Celt in France, and ancient tribes. In a way, it inspired me to discover also Indonesia, because you still have population who are close to how we lived before, way a long time ago. And so in this installation, you can slide. There is there is places where you can be together in a group of people to tell stories at night, and you know, because night is good for the specific atmosphere, and the stars are here, but they are part of the story. And also you have places like this one to sit. So now it's in process, so it's not finished here. But on these places, you will be able to lie, and it's not really common to be able to lie outside, to comfortably to look at the stars. And you have places also to give information, and they glow in the dark, and you can really learn during the night. So you can slide there. So this one is now finished, and it's piloty, so it's small. You have a lot of small legs, and you can adapt to the topography of every landscape, basically. And we want something really natural. I didn't say, but all the materials are local materials. So here it's châtaignier. I really forgot how you say in English, but it's a type of wood that you don't need to treat. It's natural. It's not even sanded. You know. So with time it will become more and more gray, and nature will absorb this furniture, and you can slide. And we have this circular space. It was designed, inspired by, as I say, by really disappeared civilization, and it gives the south, north, east, west, and it's a bit like astronomy, but also astrology. And I call this place sacred, because when you go there and together, you will feel a specific energy. It's because of together, because our soul together will meet. And you can see the stones on the right of the circle. These stones are local stones. So we chose stones from the landscape around, and we just did a small, almost nothing of cutting, and they will more and more become the same. Actually, the wood will become the same color of the stones. And on these stones, people who know the sky, people who know the stories can sit. And on the bench in front of them, the public can come, everyone who are just walking around. And you can see the very thin line on the mat, on the long trunks. It symbolizes the path of the sun of the planet. So it's really related to the cosmos and to the universe in general. You can slide here. And this glows in the dark, and every places where we put this, we call it a totem. You have the story of the place and the story of our collaboration with the national parks. And you can see on the left, not on the picture, but you have like some constellation who are represented. And you can slide, yeah. And it's another view, it's another site, less in the mountain, but still beautiful and really known for the dark sky. I need to say that all these places will be installed in places where the sky is not polluted by light. And more European cities think about that. think about decreasing the light at night. It's really important. And yeah, you can slide. And slide again, it is views. So you can see the stones, and it's this was 2 days after the installation. So you can see the very brand new wood. I mean, brand new kind of raw already, but it will become more and more gray. Yeah, and you can slide. Well, at night it glows, as you see, and progressively the space will disappear to leave the sky to express that, to let the stars express something. Yeah, you can slide. Yeah, voila. So thin line. And I want to say that with this project, we work in teams every time we. So you have a specific team who install in extreme condition. So these conditions are kind of difficult. You have to resist to the snow. You have to resist to the wind and extreme wind, and also some animals around. And also a craftsman who is called Arnaud Menardi. It's Atelier Chattersen in Seven Park. And we closely work together for this project. And I want to say hi to Arnaud. The second project is Fossil. It was made in 2017. And at that time, we really started to focus on recycling and reusing materials. And as we said before, this project is more about the process. It's more about the philosophy. And Ecomobilier was the client for this project. They asked me to work locally with companies who are recycling materials and reusing materials. And we needed to make a furniture to enhance these companies and their processes. You can slide. And I visited many sites who collected trash, who put together plastic and many cardboards and everything. And that was so inspiring for me. So from this trash, I realized that trash are really beautiful and precious. And if you make something out of this would become even more valuable than something which is not recycled or which is not reused. Because it's like a second life, it's a new story, and the previous life just enrich the life of now, you know. You can slide. And this is just this drawing can basically resume my design process. It's with things who are changing shapes and recomposing, and in the end, it's a lot about the human relation. And you can slide. And this was one 3D model, and you can slide. I just wanted to show also the process, because we always start with drawing. I always only draw with my pen and my papers, and then we make a 3D, and then we realize the prototypes and production. And this so this sofa is only made out of small pieces that you can deconstruct as you want. And we can have two places for people, but you can have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 places. It's a modular system. That's why it's called also Fossil. I mean, because of previous lives, but also because every part is one fossil, and you have fossil 1, fossil 2. So I don't know, yeah, fossil in English. And every part, every shape, actually, every material, it have a number. And you can associate the numbers together to make a new object. And if you want, you can just take one part of it, you can slide. You can take one part of it, and again, slide. And if you take just this one of fossil, for example, you can just consider this fossil as a sculpture or as a really precious piece that you just want to put on your shelf. And because it's precious, because it was made out of hardwood furniture, who were trashed by people, because it was not fashionable now anymore. And so we collected them with a social association. They work with people in difficulties in their life, and they all made a new sheet of wood out of this furniture. And you can slide. So you have different woods. And this is old mattresses who were trashed also, and they cut in very small pieces. And it's assembled with, I forgot the name. It's anyway, so it's a virtuous cycle, and it's made in Ardèche in France. All is local around Lyon, because at that time I was in Lyon. And you can slide again. And after the textile was made out of plastic bottles, and you can slide. And I work with a graphic designer for the pattern. Her name is Camille Boileau. So she did also the pattern inspired by the project. And so you can compose. So here you have a small table on the side, and then you can slide. And after you have two places, but again, you can extend it. And again, we did a video for this project again, because I want the video to tell the story. But the project, as you see it here, is not the most important. The most important is the story, is the people I met. It's the relation I built. Still now, it keeps going, and it's the message we give. And Monacal is the last project. It's a very important recent project. So I put 2019, but it keeps going right now. And we did financement. We did a common platform for the orders, and we had many commands. So we ship the last command very recently, so it keeps going. Just to be fast, Monacal is you can slide. It started with Jean. So his name is Jean Darcourt. He's woodwork. He works with wood, and he was really tired of working with fake wood, with composites. And he wants hardwood, and he decided to collect tree stumps. So it's the roots of the tree inside the earth. So he excavated all these pieces that he put in his garden, and he saw what I did with Fossil project before, and he went to the studio in Lyon at the time, and he said, Amaury, could you make something with that, because it's really important for me. I want to go more and more in this material. And if we use only hardwood, we cut trees. How can we use this kind of these roots in the ground in order to use new resources? So you can slide. And that was the initial brief. I designed a collection called Monacal, inspired by the rooms of the monks, and inspired by simple life. How can we be back to essential? How can our life be as minimal as possible, but only with qualitative things, in order to focus in the quality of our relations also. You can slide. And this is one of the last pieces we ship to a client, and it's only with roots. And normally you don't use the roots because it's too complex to work. You can slide. So you show the process. We did the video. I didn't want to show the video here because, first of all, it's in French, but second of all, it's a bit long here, I think. So you can check after on Vimeo on our website. You can slide. And the collection. So only simple object you can adapt to the measurement. It can be tall, small, everything. And only also kind of humble furniture, really simple and And I had to do that because to show as much as possible the material and to respect it. It had to be simple. You can slide. Yeah, and slide again. And because future is the theme, I want to resume these 3 projects. As I said, Monacal is simple life. And these 3 projects basically tells what I feel today in my private life, but in my work as well. Simple life doesn't mean cheap, you know. It means a big quality to few elements, and I think it's kind of ecological, but ecological doesn't mean poor, you know. It means richer with smaller. And fossil, as we say, it's a lot about processes. How can we rethink our process? How can we express different messages with our production? How can we go out of growth, you know? And Peuplade is a project that is not finished yet, and we are working in a video. We are working in many things in new places that are coming also to install the furniture. It talks about the invisible. It talks about sacred. How can we give new meaning to what is around us? How can we listen and open our eyes to what we don't see, you know? And for me, the future of design and maybe the future of humanity actually does not exist yet, and maybe there is different future, and we have to choose. But what I want to choose is to open to what I don't see, and to create new processes with craft, with countries, with other people around me, and new relations, and to stay simple and humble. And just to finish about this future part, but it's a lot about inside and outside. Amanda, we talked a bit less yesterday, yeah. And you say, oh, your projects are outside, it's outside project, and actually yes, and this recent project is outside, but it's an outside project in order to go inside, you know, yourself, inside yourself, and the key is here, is go back to yourself, and then when you go back to yourself, you can start to go outside.
Thank you so much, Amaury. That was a really interesting presentation, and it's really nice how you sort of led us into your thoughts of how the future of how the future will be, or what do you expect really from the future. I find it very moving how the first project that you presented was actually, in a way, a return to spirituality. So it's interesting that in an age where technology is sort of, you know, that it's very like advanced and keep on advancing, there is a drawback. I don't know if that's a conscious drawback or an unconscious drawback from yourself towards something that's spiritual, first of all, but also something that's simple, going back to what is actually simple. And it's also a very important note from your side that simple doesn't mean poor, you know, it actually, in contrast, it means richer. And future for you, you know, as you presented earlier through your second project, is also about the environment, you know, our awareness towards the environment and the utilization of materials from such as used mattresses and plastic bottles, and how again process comes as a very important tool in turning that into something else, right? So I think with the very little amount of time we have left. We've actually passed our time limit. It would be very unfair for me to take any question from the visitors because I would only take one in that case. So I would recommend that for all of you who are watching today, if you have questions, then you can send it to info@arturaicad.com. Okay, and instead of taking questions from our visitors, I have one question for both of you today, just to end our discussion for today. So Amaury, I know that you did mention the fact that future for you are looking forward to unveil that we don't know yet about our future, right? But if you could choose any future you like, then what future would it be? And this question is also for Alvin. Yeah, it's a simple question, but it's also a big question, and it tells a lot about how you think and how you think about your design too. So please, who would like to start? I'll let you pick.
Yes, no, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I think the future I would like is the present. I want the future. I would like a future where I am right now, and I don't think about the future. But maybe to be less philosophical, I would like to say feminine future, because I think we are in a mainly. So I talk with Europe, but it's a lot of patriarchy. It's a lot about masculine society. And it's a lot about competition, and it's a lot about growth, and all was made by men, and the future have to be more inside. It have to be more feminine. It have to be more reflection, and I'm not talking about only women. I'm talking about feminine part of men as well, and every human needs to equilibrate his men part, so yin and yang, men and women part, and I mean male and feminine, and right now it's not balanced. So I would say really simply that future, I would really choose a future with more feminine sensitivity and more a way of life, more connected to nature, and more respect, and less connected to money and economy, and wow.
Thank you, Amaury. Thank you so much. It's really interesting. How about you, Alvin?
Okay, this is a big question. I think, when we're speaking about the future, then we also need to understand the history, in a way, because it's all connected. I've been inspired by Harari's books, where he illustrates the history of humanity, basically, and the fact that the present was formed from history, including our way of thinking, our behavior, our anxiety, our misfit with today's type of world, etc., etc. I agree with what Amaury said, that it's more important to be present and really understand what's going on at the moment, rather than reaching to this hopeful future, in a way. And okay, this can actually be another hour-long lecture and discussion, which I think would be interesting. But I think it's really important for us, to really understand where we come from at the present, before even thinking about the future, and really understand ourselves. Ourselves, like what Amaury said, spirituality and psychologically as well. What's really baffled me after reading a bit of his book is the fact that the society was designed to fit into industries, to be a specialist in an industry, but it's not designed to understand humanity itself, unless you take a course in psychology, right? But the fact that now we really understand economics, trying to find investors, scaling up businesses, etc., but we don't really understand why a lot of us are crazy with not understanding what's happening in the world, or not being able to raise a child optimally. And that is the problem that, I mean, for instance, in Indonesia, that we're suffering. A lot of people are getting, let's say, anxious and stressful. A lot of people are seeking wealth and fame, but not exactly understanding themselves. And in the end, they're not really entirely happy with themselves. A lot of people don't find their work meaningful. They just feel like, oh, I've spent all my life just becoming a CEO of this multi-billion-dollar company, and in the end, am I happier than before? All these questions, if you collect them into a collective society, it's really a thin line between a country is going crazy or a very basic community being content with themselves. I think Jakarta is going to that direction. We definitely know. The whole of the country is, I mean, the whole world is it really depends on a like and comment button. Democracy is being questioned at the moment. So I think all these things we need to question now, and we need to answer today before we actually even think about the future. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Alvin. Thank you to both Amaury and Alvin for sharing about your work, and also for sharing, this really important thought that concludes our discussion for today. And I think going back to the word incubate that you mentioned earlier, Alvin, to incubate and formulate what we really need to, that's probably kind of the answer, the phase that we are in right now, to even answer what future we want, right? So thank you very much, everyone who have attended the discussion. I will leave Nina to close the discussion for today. Thank you, Amaury. Thank you, Alvin.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for our speakers, moderators, audience, and everyone who attended the session on current and future practices in the design world in collaboration with Institut Français d'Indonésie and Cité du Design Saint-Etienne and Ecole Supérieure d'Art et Design Saint-Etienne. Today, ICAD 11 Public is held physically at Grand Kemang Hotel, Jakarta until the 28th November 2021. Have a good evening and see you on ICAD. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Amaury.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nina. Edwin.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Amaury.
À bientôt.